Like this was our dream as a family. I was like, well, I think that dream's over. I don't know. Why? What is going on here?
There is always that one kid in a family who's supposed to take the burden of it all, the peacekeeper, the fixer, the silent hero. For Logan in the Brown family, that was him. Logan Brown was always the golden child. He was Janelle and Kody Brown's firstborn and the oldest of 18 siblings, brought up under the bright glare of sister wives with the weight of responsibility, leadership, and unrealistic expectations. On the outside, he appeared calm and reliable, but few people were aware of the emotional cost that role took on him, or why he ultimately walked away from both the family and the show. By age 18, Logan was basically playing second parent. Logan prepared meals when Janelle had to work, assisted in homework with his younger brothers, and frequently intervened to calm down Kody's regular blow-ups. He witnessed it all: Robin's sudden arrival in the family, the little obvious change in attention from Kody, and the increasing favoritism toward Robin's children, particularly Dayton. But what finally crushed Logan wasn't only favoritism, it was what occurred in the closed-door moments never telecast on TLC. It was the reality of how and why he decided to vanish. During a closed-door conversation, taped but never televised, Logan attempted to share his fears with Kody. It happened a few months after Kody legally wed Robin and initiated the long, melodramatic process of adopting her 3 children, Dayton, Aurora, and Brina. Welcome back to Sister Wives Daily. If you're enjoying this deep dive, don't forget to give this video a thumbs up. We're just getting started. Kody became obsessed with the notion of being Dayton's legal father, preoccupied with being a TV hero dad. Logan did not resent Dayton. They were close, more like brothers than stepbrothers. But Kody's response hurt him deeply. Logan observed his father emotionally disconnecting from his biological children, particularly him, investing all his efforts in being the ideal parent to Robin's children. What stung most was the pressure to pretend everything was fine. Kody urged Logan to publicly support the adoption for the cameras, to put on a happy face, and smile for a family that had left him feeling discarded. Logan refused. "He's adopting Dayton but abandoning me," Logan told Janelle quietly. Janelle was aware that her son was suffering, but she was conflicted. She was behind all of her children, but there was nothing that she could do when confronted with the choices of Kody. Logan had lost his freedom, his youth, and even some parts of his identity for the family. And now he felt totally isolated. When he explained to Kody how he felt, the reply was heart-stopping. "You're grown, you don't need me anymore. Dayton does." The one sentence was the last straw. During a never-before-aired conversation, Kody presented Logan with an ultimatum: either embrace the adoption publicly or get out of the way. Logan didn't debate. That evening, he quietly packed up his belongings. He hugged Janelle and told her, "I love you, but I can't keep pretending. I'm done performing." Logan left Flagstaff without a word to Kody or Robin and walked away from the show for good. The next year, the producers spun their tale differently. They said Logan was dedicated to college and his life away from football, but the actual reason wasn't academic. He just had enough. Enough of the pressure. Enough of the control. Enough of being invisible. And there was one other twist to the tale. Under court records later made public by insiders within the family, all the adult members of the family were asked to sign affidavits in favor of Dayton's adoption. Logan's refusal held up the process for close to 8 months. Kody never forgave him. Meanwhile, Kody started reweaving the story, describing Logan as aloof and unappreciative in family discussions. Robin, also, had her role to play, softly reminding the younger children that Logan had chosen to leave them. But reality was so much more distressing. Logan did not leave because he lost interest. He left because he could no longer tolerate hurting from being treated as if he did not exist. In one of their few confrontations, Janelle at last spoke what had been on her mind. "You forced him to choose between obedience and truth," she said to Kody. "And he chose truth. You should have been proud about that." But Kody merely snorted. "He betrayed the family," he said in a cold tone. Logan's new life, though, speaks volumes. Even years after, Logan is still nowhere to be found in the family's life. He does not give interviews, he keeps away from the frenzy, and he does not post on social media much. But in private, where cameras and noise are absent, he's started to open up, not to place blame, but to heal. Logan's journey isn't driven by bitterness. It's surviving an emotional battle inside a family constructed more for the sake of TV ratings than authentic human bonding. Today, he's living quietly, engaged to a woman who never once watched Sister Wives, and slowly constructing the quiet life he was so long denied. He doesn't talk much about the past, but his silence speaks louder than any words ever could. Sometimes the greatest act of courage is walking away. For almost 4 years, Logan has been off camera, establishing a private life in Nevada, away from confessionals, shooting schedules, and the emotionally scripted drama that Cody and Robin had made their standard. But silence doesn't always prevail. It was a chilly December afternoon, a few days past the holidays. Janelle was having a quiet dinner with Logan and his fiancée, Michelle, just the three of them, or so they believed. One of the younger kids had mentioned that Logan was in town, and Robin decided it was the perfect moment to make things right. Without notice, she arrived at Janelle's home, with Aurora and Dayton at her side. Janelle answered the door, her expression hardening. "You're not supposed to be here," she said flatly. Robin answered in her characteristic hypersweet voice, "I'm not here to fight. I just want to speak with Logan. We never had closure." Dayton was owed that. Logan heard it all coming from the kitchen. He came to a standstill when he saw Robin standing before him. Michelle quietly slipped under the table to take his hand, stabilizing him. Then Logan stood up and spoke, his voice steady, yet unwavering. "Robin," he started, voice like velvet over steel, "I owe you nothing. You made your own decisions, I made mine." Robin's lip quivered, but she refused to back down. "You walked away, Logan. You left this family behind. Do you even understand what that did to Dayton? You were like a brother to him. He cried for months." Logan stood up slowly. "And Cody cried for Dayton," he said. "But not for me. Not when I informed him that I couldn't help with the adoption in the manner that he had envisioned. That's when I informed him that I didn't exist anymore. So I departed." Robin's voice broke. "You let your pride hurt the people who loved you." Logan shook his head. "No, Robin. I released a system that required me to lie, bend over backward to support adoption, pose for TV cameras, and gratify a man who only cared about compliance. That wasn't pride. That was self-respect." Aurora turned away. Dayton's face was inscrutable. Robin's voice broke. "You still could have been here. We could have figured it out." Logan didn't blink. "No, you didn't want resolution. You wanted control. Cody needed me to vanish and keep quiet. You both pushed my limits and then turned the family against me. But Dayton's old enough now to be told the truth. Ask him." An awkward silence hung in the air. Finally, Dayton spoke, his voice wary and soft. I never understood why you left without a goodbye. They said you didn't care." Logan relaxed, turning to him. "Dayton, I did care, I still do, but I couldn't pretend everything was fine. That wasn't love, it was survival." Dayton nodded slowly, his face concerned, not angry. Robin's eyes overflowed with tears. "We were a family," she whispered. Logan's gaze locked with Robin's, shattering any pretense of sentiment. His tone was firm. "We were never really a family. We were a TV family." Before the argument had a chance to escalate further, Janelle intervened. Her face was pinched with fatigue and deep-seated frustration. She spoke to Robin straight on. "You didn't come here for closure," she insisted. "You came to guilt-trip Logan, to reinterpret the past to your needs. But I won't let you do that in my house." Robin wanted to answer, opening her mouth, but Janelle held up her hand. "No," she said icily. "You and Cody spent years creating your little ideal unit while the rest of us were sidelined. While he acted like patriarch with you, Logan was here holding everything together, raising his siblings, sacrificing his own childhood. And when he finally put his foot down, you made him out to be cruel. I witnessed it. I lived it." Robin's shoulders slumped. She felt suddenly older, not from age, but from the burden of no longer being in control. Her voice was a whisper. "Please, Dayton just wanted to see him." Logan moved closer and offered Dayton a small, knowing nod. "You know where to find me," he said softly. "Just you, anytime." It was starting to snow as Logan turned and took Michelle's hand, pulling her out onto the back porch. Robin was standing in the doorway, holding something intangible, something she couldn't put back together. Later that night, at home in the Flagstaff cul-de-sac, Robin floated about like a spirit. Her movements were still but obviously unstable. Her eyes were red, not from crying, but from repressing tears. She had come to Janelle's house with hopes of winning, of guilt-tripping Logan into giving up, into uttering the words she so desperately needed to hear. But what she had encountered was a mother no longer accepting deception, and a son no longer fearful of the man he called father. She entered the living room, where Cody sat watching a rerun of Knight Rider halfway through. He glanced up, unhurried. "So," he said, "did Logan come to his senses?" Robin slowly unzipped her coat, not responding immediately. "Robin," Cody straightened up. "You did speak with him, didn't you?" When she finally looked at him, her eyes burned with restrained anger. Yes, Cody, I talked to him. And no, he didn't suddenly realize he was wrong. He said what he always says, that you pushed him away, that you told him he didn't matter anymore. Cody's jaw clenched. That's absurd, he snarled. I gave that boy everything, a home, discipline, a chance. And now just because he wouldn't help with Dayton's adoption, he's playing victim. That's sick. Robin replied softly, but the words cut to the bone. Cody, he's hurting. He's been hurt for years. Cody sprang to his feet, his voice rising with feeling. No, you're hurting, because your fantasy reunion didn't work. And now, because Logan walked away from the family he was born to, you want me to feel guilty. That's not on me, that's on him. Robin flinched at the loudness, her voice shaking. He's not your enemy. Cody's tone became icy. He positioned himself as the enemy. He disregarded my leadership. He turned his back on his siblings. Can you imagine how it appeared when he refused to endorse Dayton's adoption? How many questions the court asked me afterwards? He made me a joke in front of the judge. In front of the entire nation. Something inside Robin changed. Her voice went cold. So, it was your reputation at stake, not your relationship with your son. Cody's face reddened. Don't try to twist this, Robin. A family requires harmony. No, she retorted, losing control. A true family doesn't punish people for drawing a line. A family that doesn't silence people just to maintain an illusion. That's not harmony, that's manipulation. For a second, Cody stared at her as though he was just noticing her. Then his tone lowered, softer but with a darker timbre. So you think his version's truer than mine? Robin didn't blink. I'm saying he didn't lie. He said you told him he wasn't part of the family anymore, because he wasn't. Cody burst out, throwing his arms over his head. He wouldn't support the adoption. He wouldn't stand up with his family. He was the oldest, he should have been the example. Robin's heart fell when she glanced over at Cody. He did take the lead, she spoke quietly. But when everything became toxic, he left. The room fell silent. The next morning, Janelle's warning. By morning, Cody's anger had only grown. Without knocking, he stormed up to Janelle's small Arab-style apartment and burst inside. Janelle, who was already exhausted and clutching a mug of coffee, answered the door. Not today, she replied without inflection. Cody opened. You made him hate me, you always fanned his rage. Janelle took a deep breath. No, Cody, I shielded him from your rage. There's a big distinction. He portrayed me as a failure, Cody spat out. A father who couldn't even retain his son. Janelle did not wait. You didn't need any assistance doing that. You used your love, your presence, even your approval, like weapons. She locked eyes with him. Logan saw it, and now, so do the rest of your kids. I brought him into this world, Cody bellowed. And then you made him wish he hadn't been a part of it, Janelle cut in. Her voice escalated with anger. You couldn't stand being challenged, so you pushed him away. And instead of standing up to your own failure, you blamed him for leaving. Cody took a step back. Janelle's voice shook as she replied, he was the best of all of us, and you lost him. When reality cracks. That evening, Cody spent almost an hour sitting in his truck, his hands clutching the steering wheel, panting. For years, he had kept his fantasy carefully constructed. But now, for the first time in years, that facade started to crack. Logan grew up in Cody's shadow. He became like a second father to his siblings. He sacrificed his youth, and the first time he decided to do something for himself, Cody declared him disloyal. This wasn't merely about the adoption of Dayton. It was about all the times Cody expected loyalty, but never gave it back. In that silence, Cody finally started to get it. Perhaps Logan hadn't left the family. Perhaps he'd merely escaped it. Dayton's doubt. The house was eerily quiet the next morning. Not serene, just dense. The sort of silence that precedes a storm. Dayton sat by himself in the upstairs hallway, headphones draped over his neck, gazing at his phone. Logan's words from the previous evening replayed in his head. That wasn't love, that was survival. He hadn't slept, not for a second. Dayton wasn't angry, he was baffled. His entire life, he had been given a carefully crafted narrative. Logan drifts away. He doesn't care. He never embraced Robin's kids. Cody said Logan didn't have loyalty, and Robin would sob, claiming Logan never really looked at Dayton as family. But that wasn't the man Dayton encountered last night. Logan had been unruffled, collected. Even in pain, he had been kind. Dayton recognized that look. It was the same one he saw reflected back at him every day. Later that morning, once Cody slunk off to sulk in the garage and Robin lay down with another migraine, Dayton stood at Cody's door and knocked. Cody opened it, still testy from the night before. Yeah. Dayton did not smile. I have a question, and I want the truth. Kody blinked. Okay. What actually happened with Logan? Why did he leave? Kody rolled his eyes. We've discussed this. He was challenging, insulting. He didn't want to be a part of the family. Dayton's voice turned cold. I said I want the truth, not the version you give the cameras. What really happened? What did you tell him? Kody stuttered. Dayton went on, shaking now. He said you gave him an ultimatum, that you told him he was no longer family, that he either pretended to support my adoption or he was gone. Kody laughed, a hard, brittle sound. He distorted my words. Dayton moved in closer. Did you tell him that? Kody glanced away. He wasn't cooperating, he was making things worse. Not what I was asking, said Dayton. Did you inform him he was no longer involved? Kody remained silent. And that was all Dayton needed to hear. Later that day, confronting Robin. With the truth starting to unravel, Dayton confronted someone else who knew answers. That afternoon, he tracked down Robin in the kitchen. This time, he had questions of his own. In a quiet effort to keep from having the same kind of emotional collapse Kody had experienced, Robin kept herself busy washing dishes. The sound of clinking water and plates filled the room until Dayton's soft voice cut through. Why did you tell me Logan didn't care about us, Mom? He whispered. Robin's frame went tense. You said he was opposed to the adoption, Dayton went on, that he didn't really love me like a brother. Robin turned, her own tears shining in her eyes. I never wanted to hurt you, Dayton, she whispered. I just wanted to make you feel safe. Logan was so upset at the time, it seemed like we were intruding. Dayton shook his head. No, you made him feel like he was being replaced. You told me it was because he didn't want me. You used that to make me feel closer to Kody. Robin attempted to protest. That's not fair. But isn't it true? Dayton stopped her, firm but even. Robin's mouth opened, but the words refused to come. He was my brother, Dayton responded serenely. He still is, and I want to know who he really is, not the one you and Kody fabricated. As Robin took a step forward to comfort him, Dayton politely moved away. I love you, Mom, he informed her, but I don't believe the tales any longer. I have to sort this out myself. That evening, Dayton did something he hadn't done in years. He booted up his laptop, looked up Logan's email address, saved but never used, and started typing. Hi, my name is Dayton. I don't really know what to say, but I think I finally get it. And I'm sorry for thinking the wrong things about you. Can we ever talk sometime? He rested his finger on the trackpad, then pressed send. In that moment of quiet, Dayton did something Kody never had the courage to do. He opted for truth over comfort, for healing over control. With the sun rising in Nevada, Logan checked his email over a morning coffee. Usually, his morning started off by reading headlines and taking business calls. But today, there was something different in his inbox. An email from Dayton. Logan sat stock still, for what felt like forever before opening it. Hello, it's Dayton. I don't know what to say, but I think I get it now. And I apologize for thinking things about you that were wrong. Can we discuss this at some point? His gut clenched. Each word throbbed like a heartbeat. Logan got up and walked around the living room, palms shoved into his pockets. The house was quiet. Michelle was still in bed upstairs. He remembered Dayton as a boy, sitting beside him on the couch, asking how to put on a tie for church. Times were simpler then, before the betrayal, before the silence. Now, after all these years, Dayton was calling not as Robin's son, not as Kody's adopted heritage, but as a brother. Logan breathed out slowly. Yes, he breathed to himself, that would be nice. They agreed to meet somewhere quiet, off the Las Vegas Strip, away from the cameras, the family, and the baggage they both shared. Logan saw Dayton as soon as he entered. He was older, calmer, not the uncertain boy desperate for Kody's validation, but his eyes remained the same, soft, kind, searching. Dayton stood awkwardly, unsure whether he was to offer a handshake or go for a hug. Logan nodded at him. Hey man, he said softly. They sat down. For a moment, they just sat there in silence, until Dayton finally broke it. I didn't know, he said, voice shaking. I really didn't. Logan looked him straight in the eye. I thought you didn't want me, Dayton went on. I thought I didn't belong. Logan gritted his teeth and shook his head. That's what you were told. Dayton nodded slowly. Logan's voice shook with emotion. I never had a problem with you. What I did have a problem with was being used as a prop in a story I didn't believe in. Your dad rewrote the truth to fit his image. I couldn't pretend to smile for the cameras, so he pushed me aside to make space for his next storyline, and I wouldn't play along. Dayton swallowed hard, his voice beginning to shake. Why didn't you say goodbye? Dayton asked gently. Why didn't you tell me you were leaving? Logan's jaw clamped down as he took a deep breath. Because if I said goodbye, I wouldn't have left. And Dayton, I was drowning. I couldn't breathe anymore. I was suffocating from holding it all together, taking care of my siblings, cleaning up after Dad's mess, pretending for the cameras that everything was fine. He hesitated, his eyes shrouded in tears of years ago. I would have broken if I'd stayed one more day. Dayton's eyes overflowed with tears. I missed you, he said. You were the only person who spoke to me like I was a human being, like I wasn't this charity case or a set decoration for TLC. Logan's eyes fell to the table. I missed you too, he whispered. What started as a strained reunion became a warm dialogue that lasted 2 hours. The brothers broke open, at last and truly. Dayton explained how Robin and Kody had conditioned Logan's departure as abandonment, while Logan revealed how Janelle had attempted to stand up for him, but was overwhelmed by emotional fatigue and the family lie. I thought your silence was that you didn't care, Dayton confessed. I felt like I had to prove that I was worth being part of the family. He paused, then continued. When Kody adopted me, I always felt like I was taking someone's place. Like I was taking your place. You weren't, Logan said softly. Kody lost hope on me, that was his decision, not yours. Dayton shook his head, anger and sadness threading his tone. We were both just tools to him. Logan nodded. Yeah, but that doesn't mean we have to stay broken. A heavy silence hung between them, rich with mutual understanding and unspoken hurt. At last, Dayton said, so what now? Logan gave a small, sincere smile. Now we start fresh, not as pawns in someone else's tale, just as brothers, me and you. Dayton nodded slowly. I'd like that. As they stood to leave, Logan rested a firm hand on Dayton's shoulder, not out of obligation or guilt, but out of real human connection. It was the kind of gesture that didn't need to be seen, filmed, or approved. Outside, the gusts sliced across the chill Vegas pavement, but something between them had thawed. A union, previously broken by manipulation and quiet, was mending. They didn't say, I forgive you. They didn't have to. The forgiveness already stood there in the act of presence, of listening, of looking at each other for what they actually were. Down at Robin's, Kody prowled the kitchen like an animal in a cage. His boots boomed on the broken tile as Robin nervously refreshed her phone. No text, no call, nothing. And Kody despised nothing more than silence, particularly when it indicated something was going on that he had no control over. Robin sat at the counter, fingers tapping against a cup of chamomile tea she hadn't even sipped. At last, she broke her silence. Dayton met with Logan. Kody's eyes locked on hers. The air thickened around him. When, he whispered, barely above a whisper. Yesterday, in Las Vegas, Robin replied hesitantly. I didn't tell you earlier because I knew you'd go over the edge. Kody erupted. You don't think that this is spiritual warfare? His fists were knotted, his face contorted with anger. So now Logan is poisoning Dayton against us. That's what this is. Robin attempted to soothe him. No, Kody, Dayton asked questions. Logan simply told him the truth. Oh, for crying out loud, Kody spat. That kid's resented me since he was able to speak. Always treated me like I owed him something, like I was the bad guy for not worshipping him. He paced harder, turning. I gave them everything, I gave all of them everything. Robin's voice was soft, but its message was unmistakable. You gave Dayton your name, but you gave Logan your silence. Kody turned on her, his eyes a wild glint. I gave Dayton a future. Robin didn't blink. You adopted Dayton to build a public image. Her statement slapped Kody across the face. He reeled emotionally, and for an instant, seemed genuinely lost. Your voice, he said icily, is beginning to sound just like Janelle's. That night, Kody didn't even bother to call in advance. He stomped over to Janelle's rental, anger emanating from each step as he stopped in front of the door. He was breathless, not from walking, but from sheer, shaking fury. Janelle came to the door, already drained. Her face was serene but resolute. I'm going to take it you overheard Logan and Dayton spoke, she said straight out. Kody's eyes were aflame. You promoted it. Why didn't you say goodbye? Why didn't you tell me? Dayton's voice quivered with emotion. Logan's face was pinched with guilt. Because if I had, I would have stayed. And Dayton, I was suffocating. I couldn't breathe anymore. I was drowning in taking care of the kids, covering for Dad's mess, and faking everything being okay for the cameras. Staying one more day would have destroyed me. Dayton's eyes glistened. I was missing you. You were the only one who treated me as a human being, not some movement, not some spectacle. Logan lowered his head, his tone a low murmur. I was missing you too. The two spoke for more than 2 hours. Years of hurt and misunderstanding came to the surface. Dayton confessed that Robin and Cody had manipulated Logan's absence into abandonment. Logan described how he did not ever want to leave anyone behind, but could not continue living in the poisoned chaos any longer. He explained to Dayton how Janelle had attempted to stand up for him, but was overpowered by lies. Dayton said he felt that Logan's silence had caused him pain, that he felt unwanted. Now, things began to make sense. I always felt like I had to earn my spot, Dayton said. Like I was a placeholder. You weren't, Logan said. Cody didn't replace me with you, he discarded me. That's not on you. Dayton's jaw clenched. We were both used. Logan nodded. We were, but that doesn't mean we have to stay broken. So what now? Dayton asked. Logan provided a small, sincere smile. Now, we try again, not as part of their story, just as brothers. Dayton nodded slowly. That sounds good. They stood. Logan put a hand on Dayton's shoulder, not out of duty or guilt, because he needed to. No script. No cameras. Two young men attempting to rebuild something genuine. The Las Vegas air outside was chilly, but something within had melted. Forgiveness was not spoken. It was implied. Back in Flagstaff, Cody paced like a maniac. The kitchen rang out with the thud of his boots. Robin sat quietly at the counter, her hands shaking around a mug she never sipped from. They met, she finally spoke. Cody came to a halt. What? Dayton and Logan. In Vegas. I didn't tell you because I knew you'd do this. Cody's temper exploded. This is spiritual sabotage. Logan is poisoning him. No, Cody, Robin said softly. He's telling him the truth. Cody's voice grew bitter. That kid always thought he was better than everybody. I gave him everything. You gave Dayton your last name, she said. But you gave Logan silence. Cody scowled at her. You sound just like Janelle. Cody arrived at Janelle's residence uninvited again that evening. He burst in, already loudly speaking. For years, you've been conspiring behind my back, turning the kids against me. Janelle stood cross-armed. The resentment was there already, Cody. You simply added gasoline to it and called it fatherhood. I am still their father. No, she replied calmly. You're just a figurehead now, holding on to power you've never earned in years. Cody seethed with anger. They're rewriting history. You told Logan he wasn't family anymore, Janelle fired back. He remembers. So do I. He felt like a roadblock because you were fixated on adopting Dayton. And now that Dayton knows the truth, it's all falling apart. Cody's mouth hung open, then snapped shut again, speechless. Janelle's tone softened, but it was icy sharp. This has nothing to do with Dayton. It's about control. About your desire to be the hero, no matter what it costs you in terms of relationships that actually mean something. Then a voice was heard from down the hallway. I've heard enough. Hunter moved out from behind the stairs. I've been quiet for long enough, but you don't get to come here and yell at Mom. Cody turned around. Hunter. Hunter held up a hand. No, you don't get to talk first this time. The room was silent. When Logan began to struggle, you were blind. You were pursuing new dreams, new children. Logan kept everything together, and you issued him an ultimatum, and you just left him behind. Cody's voice broke. I was trying to keep the family together. No, Hunter said. You were creating a new one. Cody remained quiet. I used to stand up for you, Hunter went on. Told other people you weren't selfish. But after what you've done to Logan, how you punished him for having boundaries, it all changed. Cody was winding down before their eyes. No script, no apologies. Hunter moved closer. You need to sit with what you've done, not in rage, in silence, for Logan, because he's not the broken one anymore. You are. That evening, Cody sat by himself in his truck, gazing at the steering wheel. For the first time, the quiet wasn't hollow. It was earned. The family he constructed, manipulated, dictated, edited was lost. Not because they betrayed him, because they awakened. And this time, there were no cameras to rewrite the conclusion. Let us hear your comments below. And don't forget to subscribe for more such updates. Thank you for watching.